Barrier created. Train harder. You fought well.
One enemy remaining.
4 down. Wall raised.
Enemy spotted. Enemy spotted. Yikes.
I see the spike.
One enemy remaining.
Stand down.
Flawless.
Be still.
Let's get these idiots. Wall raised.
I see the spike.
Enemy spotted.
Enemy spotted.
Enemy spotted.
One enemy remaining.
Ult is ready.
One down.
Flawless.
Dying would have sucked.
If we go easy on them, they will never learn.
They should stop trying. Enemy spotted.
Barrier created.
Enemy spotted.
Message sent. My ultimate is ready.
Next.
One enemy remaining.
3 down.
GG boys. We are. Let's go. You're so fucking lucky.
Keep them out. Barrier created.
There they are.
Prepare for hellfire!
Enemy down.
Bunch of guys here.
Sorry, bro.
My ult's ready.
Spike planted. Last player standing. One enemy remaining.
You know they've planted, right? Come on.
Hey, fuck. Thanks.
They don't have a chance.
Fire in the hole!
Enemy spotted.
Listen up. Oh, my ult's ready.
Healing you. Time for the fire! Oh!
Nice, nice, nice.
No charges left.
Care guys, C.
No charges left. For you.
Guys, some of you go A.
Maybe A, maybe A.
Enemy spotted. Enemy spotted. Enemy spotted.
One double doors.
30 seconds left.
C long.
Nowhere to run!
Wall raised.
10 seconds left. One enemy remaining.
Nice.
They tire. We don't. Enemy spotted. Enemy spotted.
Enemy spotted. Enemy spotted.
That's chica
Enemy spotted.
now my scratch.
Nailed them.
grave.
No, go away. Hey, planting.
Remove.
Spike planted.
Opponent killed.
One enemy remaining.
Enemy
Unavoidable.
spotted.
Easy game, guys.
Blasphemous.
Damn, this is fun. Let's keep it going.
Cine mă practic să fiu ușor. E mult mai
Good work. Don't screw it up. Watch this.
There they are.
Multiple enemies spotted. See ya.
Enemy spotted.
One down.
Rest.
One enemy remaining.
A side, A side.
Okay. 30 seconds left.
Enemy spotted. No more to oppose.
GG.
Nice.
Good shot.
They're supposed to be fighting back, right? Fire in the hole!
Enemy spotted.
Wall raised.
Spike planted.
Enemy spotted. Enemy killed.
Headshot.
Ooh, shit. Nice.
One enemy remaining.
We tend to dust. Spotted.
Last player standing.
Just to the left side. I mean, at the spike left.
Eliminate.
30 seconds left.
I think you got the spike.
Ten seconds left.
B.
Spike planted. One enemy remaining.
Enemy removed.
Nice try.
Prepared for hellfire!
Enemy spotted.
Bunch of guys here.
How?
Come on, let's go! Down.
Enemy spotted.
Spike spotted.
Last player standing. One enemy remaining.
Barrier created.
Try reviving, bro. Find a...
Yeah, revive the guy in B.
Thirty seconds left.
Thank you.
This is what I trained for.
Last round before the switch.
We cannot keep our goods after this. Spend all.
I have money.
Enemy spotted.
Barrier created.
Shift raise, shift. In C.
They're super dead.
Spike planted.
You fought well.
One enemy remaining.
Remove.
Oh, nice.
I know exactly where you are.
Last player standing.
Nice try. Nice.
All good. All good. Careful now.
Switching sides.
Trying to stay serious here, but this is just so much fun. Tear them down.
Enemy spotted.
Our spy carrier is down.
I have the spike. Our spike carrier is killed. Enemy spotted.
Wall raised. I have the spike. Message sent.
One enemy remaining.
Stay down.
Hans. And then he's going to
Spike planted.
Kill me, kill me, kill me. Kill me, you're a healer, bro. Alright, alright.
For you.
Stop that.
Need a drop. Thanks.
Let's keep it rolling. Spike drop. Got spike.
Found them.
Spike drop.
Enemy spotted.
Wall raised. Spike.
Here.
Enemy spotted.
Enemy spotted.
Dead.
You're out.
Spike planted. Spotted.
Embarrassing.
Fire in the hole!
One enemy remaining.
Put down.
Ace.
You thought you could come against us.
Holy shit, nice.
Can someone get this?
Do it again.
Enemy spotted.
Barrier created.
They're in there. Going up.
Enemy spotted.
Come on, let's go.
Last player standing. One enemy remaining.
How? Holy shit.
Can someone get
Need a
this?
drop.
March through there.
Enemy spotted.
Enemy spotted.
Oh, so try hard.
Embarrassing. Get out of here. Careful now. Going up.
I got the spike.
Thirty seconds left.
Enemy spotted.
Match point.
Usher them towards their eternal rest.
Pick them off.
Fire in the hole! Stand down. Barrier completed.
Oh, you ain't coming back. Our spike carrier's down.
Bro, he's so annoying.
I got the spike.
Enemy spotted. Be faster. Spike planted.
They should have done.
enemy remaining.
Oh,
Rest.
thanks.
Enemy spotted. There you are, little shit.
GG.
Attackers win.
That's how it gets done.
I am both shield and sword. Cool. Let's go.
Bodies decompose after 12 hours in acid. There's no reason I know that.
Kia.
Enemy spotted.
Many hits.
Spotted.
Enemy. Embarrassing.
Enemy spotted.
Planted.
No charges left.
Enemy spotted.
One enemy remaining.
Duck. Woo! We got this.
Let me show you how the boss does it.
Enemy spotted. Enemy spotted. Enemy spotted. Enemy spotted. Blocking sight. Opponent killed.
Right between the eyes. Got the spike.
One enemy remaining.
Ended.
Shit.
Pizzy.
Burn bright, Phoenix.
Kill them.
Blocking sight.
On the money.
Enemy spotted.
Enemy spotted. Dead. Race on A.
Your fault.
Shot. Die long answer.
One enemy remaining.
Nice.
Bye. Spike planted. My ult ready. 3,
What do they think this is? A backyard scrimmage?
Bury them.
Blocking sight.
Damn it.
Watch this!
I long.
Enemy down.
Hot shot.
One enemy remaining.
Train harder. My ultimate is ready.
Outrun me?
Continue to overwhelm them.
Spike drop.
Blocking sight.
Enemy spotted.
Unavoidable.
Last player standing.
Enemy spotted.
Thank you.
Shoot the bad guys. How's that for a plan? Let's keep it rolling. Joke's over! You're dead!
Stay down.
Open up the sky!
Sorry, I misclicked.
One pushing. I don't.
Enemy down.
Blocking sight.
Do you want to push?
One down.
One enemy remaining.
Nice dude.
See ya.
Enemy spotted. It's just a scratch.
Steps right side. Try to flash, don't look.
Headshot.
Drop the spike. I have the spike.
Here. Here.
Come on, let's go! Enemy spotted.
Maybe window? City. Plant, dude. Nice.
One enemy remaining.
Enemy killed.
Oh fuck, he's... Outside.
Player standing.
Don't push. Nice.
It's hard not to play with my food.
Can someone get this?
Thank you.
Funds to spare.
Keep it up. Get out of my way.
Still got
Nice.
it.
Don't look, I flash.
Enemy spotted.
Fuck behind.
Enemy removed.
One enemy remaining.
Nice.
Message sent.
Need a loan?
I have extra money if anyone needs.
I need a drop. Cheers!
Thanks.
Here.
Need a loan?
Blocking sight.
Enemy spotted.
Spike dropped. Put down. Enemy spotted.
Behind the box on side. Yes.
Got spike.
Last player standing.
They're super dead.
Ah, sorry.
Let's get these idiots.
Okay. I can flash when you want. Yes, right side. Nice.
Entrance.
What's this?
Yeah, look.
Enemy spotted.
Out of here.
See long?
One enemy remaining.
Nice.
And 4.
Blocking sight. Blocking sight.
Enemy down.
Oh, nice.
Spike planted.
Enemy spotted.
Nailed them.
Nice. What?
One enemy remaining.
Be faster.
Last player standing.
Nice.
Last round in the half.
Can't take anything with us after this. Go for broke. I have funds to spare.
Can someone get this? Thank you. Blocking sight.
Joke's over! You're dead!
Oh fuck, B-side door.
I dropped the spike.
Last player standing. Switching sides.
I'll smoke B mid window thing.
Okay.
Oh, that's nice.
See ya.
Okay. Coming.
They're planting A.
Spike planted.
Sit down. Sorry, bro.
One enemy remaining.
Careful now.
Nice.
Not the fool you hoped for. Damn, this is fun. Let's keep it going. They should stop trying.
Enemy spotted.
Blocking sight.
A clear. Oh, nice spike by us.
One enemy remaining.
Nice.
3. Good work. Don't screw it up. Blocking sight. Blocking sight.
Yeah, A raised, but I think they not push.
Ult ready. Watch this. Enemy killed.
Left.
One enemy remaining. Last player standing.
What?
What the hell? Oh my god.
Thirty seconds left. Ten seconds left.
Go, 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 go.
Spike planted.
Nice.
Insane.
Smoke's down. Sorry to spoil the party.
Match point.
I need a drop. We win this battle, we win this war. Let's do it.
I have extra money if anyone needs.
This ain't what they signed up for.
Enemy spotted.
My ult's ready.
One more.
think A. Maybe from long.
Me.
Open up the sky!
Spike planted.
What?
Last player standing.
One last push. Let's make them hurt.
Joke's over! You're dead!
I see the spike. Enemy spotted.
Blocking sight.
On the money.
Bomb down.
Get out of my way!
One enemy remaining.
Put down. Enemy spotted. No need.
Defenders win.
GG. Thanks for carrying picks.
And let's see how we configuration. I'm gonna add the external jars under the libraries. Let's run the code and see the pay for it, because most of the Java frameworks, they are open source, right? And you just if you can see now, right? So it's an open source framework. It's a lightweight application. We're gonna understand the AOP module in terms of how you can have a cross-cutting concern, which is right. You can have unit testing available with the help of JUnit library. Right. So guys, that was a bit of theoretical introduction to the Spring framework, right? So what we, let's say next, and let's do a finish on it. And now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna create one. So what Spring says, right? So Spring way, we're gonna implement IOC. That's like over here, right? If you can see EID, ename, and then e-address. So these three properties I have given over here: EID, ename, and e-address. So for jar files, do a right click, and then I'm gonna say build path, configure the build path. Right, so here we are with the libraries, and I need to do add external jars. So if you can see, we got there were 5 simple. So we'll there were 5 simple steps, right? If you can recall. So these were the 5 simple steps, if you can recall. We got a bean class, so that's like employee. We got a demo class, that's like the client. We loaded the jar files, and now we need an XML file, right? So I'm gonna copy my XML file. So just give me a moment. So we'll just copy the XML file. So I have this file known as employee_bean.xml file, guys. I'm just gonna do a control C, and exactly within my src over here, if you can see, I'm gonna do a paste of it. So I just copied and pasted one of the XML file available over here, right? So nothing, very complex which I have done. It's very basic which we have done so far. Now let's open this employee_bean.xml file. So the very first thing over here, if you can see, it's an XML file. It's like the client. We loaded the jar files and now we need an XML file, right? So I'm gonna copy my XML file. So just give me a moment. So we'll just copy the XML file. So I have this file known as employee, like the client. We loaded the jar files and now we need an XML file, right? So I'm gonna copy my XML file. So just give me a moment. So we'll just copy the XML file. So I have this file known as employee_bean.xml file, guys. I'm just gonna do a control C, and exactly within my src over here, if you can see, I'm gonna do a paste of it. So I just copied and pasted one of the XML file available over here, right? So nothing, very complex which I have done. It's very basic which we have done. So I'm gonna write it within a package known as code.edureka as a bean or model or Pojo, not private. So what Spring says, right? So through Spring frameworks, data access layer. The web layer, so I'm gonna write, so that's like a instruction now. So the property goes like So now let's try to come down and see one snippet over the Spring framework, right? So I'm going to write one Java application. So let's try to write one Java application and let's see how we can come up with our Spring framework example. So let's say it's one. So I'm also going to construct one constructor as in a default one. So let's try to write one default constructor. I got one. I will set a salary. Let's say 30,000, right? So this is the tradition available in my project, right? So once I'm done with this, so the next part is to come up with one XML configuration file. So let me take up to that. So just a moment. So I'll just copy one of the employee bean.xml file. So I have this XML file and I'm going to copy it in my SRC configuration. I'm going to add the external jars under the libraries. So here we are with the Spring jar. So I already have my core jars available over here, right? So you can download it over the web. So I'm just going to link these jar files with my project structure and let's say apply and OK. So here we are with the Spring core jar files available in my project, right? So once I'm done with this, so the next part is to come up with one XML configuration file. So let me take up to that. So just a moment. So I'll just copy one of the employee bean.xml file. So I have this XML file and I'm going to copy it in my SRC directory. If you will see, I'm not copying it to my package. I'm copying it into the SRC directory out here, right? So once we are done with the copying of this XML file, let's try to open and see the structure of this XML file now. So the structure of the XML file says that it's basically one root tag known as beans with the tag known as beans and the property. So what is this bean ID all about? What's happening? Your aspect oriented programming will
development, web and enterprise development much simpler than it previously was. In this course, we're going to cover the fundamentals of Spring development by going through the various configuration methods that are available inside Spring. Some of the major topics that we will cover include Java configuration, auto wiring, and advanced bean configuration. By the end of this course, you'll know the configuration methods available in Spring and how they'll benefit your code. Before beginning the course, you should be familiar with Java, but no previous Spring experience is required. From here, you should feel comfortable diving into Spring with courses on Spring MVC. Before we go any further inside of our application, there's actually one thing we need to fix inside of our pom.xml. And this has been the case for every IDE I have ever used. We need to add a specific build version for our app. Now you can go look in the version, but we figured plug in. And in here we have a group. Now that we have our Maven project structure in place, we can go ahead and get started adding Java code to our application. To do this, it's quite easy. All we want to do is navigate down to our source main Java folder that Maven created, a path signifying the class name. Now we can hit OK. In Java, right-click, object to our class structure as well. Makes things brittle, and by brittle, well, not test code because it was too hard. So to specifically call out some of the pain points we're going to address, notice here in this code on line 7, I have the keyword new and an abstract new referencing. I have to rebuild my entire. I have code inside of here that swap out when the actual change. We don't need to go recompile code or introduce other changes into our source code, rather just change configuration. So let's look at how we can To get our project ready to copy for the next demo, I've gone ahead and closed any of the open files we had from the previous demo. To copy a project inside of it, in your Windows Explorer window, have with off, I want to make sure that application file, the project was renamed, but it never actually renames. To begin configuring directory, and click enter. Start bootstrapping our where you did configuring goes through. So there's methods, it's a plain annotation of this. To start the annotation in the snippet above, in that app config file that we just created in our demo, we now put an at configuration annotation at the top of that class. Methods used in conjunction with the bean annotation are used to get instances of Spring beans. Now, we're throwing a couple of topics at you here really quickly, and there's a short but steep learning curve. We're going to explain what a bean is and what a configuration file is as we go. We just have to show you these two concepts as we dive into it. We add an at method level annotation for bean, and it looks similar to this where we're saying that what this method returns is an instance of a bean, and that the bean is now registered inside of Spring and available for us to use inside of our Spring application. Classes and method names can be anything. Spring really doesn't care. It doesn't have to be named get customer repository or anything specific. We can call our methods foo just as long as when it goes to create these beans, we have them marked as a bean and in a configuration file. Let's begin by starting to add some of this configuration to that app config file that we just created. I've switched back over to our IDE. I want to go ahead at the class level and say add configuration. And you can see that as we're typing it, it wants to go ahead and suggest what it should be. We want to choose that second one, the configuration, not configurable, configuration, and choose it, and it will automatically import service signature. I need to tell it that setter injection using the Java configuration approach is a version of control. It just kind of goes away with the Java configuration. Setter injection is simply a matter of calling a setter on a bean. We're going to define a bean using the bean annotation like we did in the previous demo. And you can see here that we've got our get customer service method that returns. So that we're building our beans, we're going to call the set customer repository method on our customer service instance. To do that, we need to have a method called getCustomerRepository in our configuration that returns the customer repository bean. This is going to wire the customer repository inside of our customer service. Let me say that again. We're not just going to call an instance we create. We're going to call and get an instance of the bean from the Spring configuration file. So when we define a bean, that hard-coded constructor injection is just like setter. Looks just like camel case naming convention of that instance, and I'm going to assign this to repository equal to speaker repository. And save this. Now we have our instance stored inside of here that is going to be injected using setter injection. We can go over to our app. Now that we've seen some of the basic Spring configuration and overall just how to create and implement beans inside of our application, let's go a little deeper and look at Spring scopes and auto wiring, specifically scopes of beans inside of our application. They're a very important part of the bean lifecycle and will show us how to use different things inside of our application and implement behaviors regarding beans. The scopes inside of our application usually are associated with patterns, but they're not really the same thing. They go hand in hand. But a scope does not equal a pattern. Spring implements a lot of patterns for you, which is good because it helps you avoid a lot of the common mistakes and pitfalls made when implementing patterns on your own. And if you aren't familiar with design patterns, I really recommend watching my design patterns series on the Java design patterns of behavioral, creational, and structural patterns here on Pluralsight. Let's dive a little deeper on the scopes and talk about which scopes are available to your application and which scenarios they tie into. There are 5 scopes available inside of Spring for us to configure a bean inside of our application. Valid in any configuration is a singleton, which is actually the default. You've most likely heard of a singleton before, but we're going to explain that a little bit more in detail and what that means in regards to a Spring application in our next demo. The other scope, though, is a prototype scope. Prototype is actually a new bean per request. You typically do want the singleton over the prototype. The other configurations that are available for beans that are only valid in web-aware Spring projects are request, session, and global. So if you're the singleton design pattern restricts the instantiation of a club of singleton, which means that their instance per scope annotation to our code, as you can see here in our code sample. And in the previous release of this course, we weren't using Maven, so you were required to add the AOP jar separately. Since we are using Maven, this is just a transitive dependency, and it's already available in our project. Let's add that scope to our project now and show you how you can configure that for your beans. To add scope to our already configured application, I've gone ahead and opened. Web scopes are beyond what we're going to cover in this course since it's just a basic Spring fundamentals course. They are covered the setup of the type except per every time I add a single there which will of that app. Auto-wired. Auto-wiring is where I would say that most people start to think that there's some magic that's taking place inside of Spring. Auto-wiring is a great technique used to reduce the wiring up and configuration of code. If you've ever heard the term convention over configuration, this is it. To auto-wire our applications using the Java configuration, gotten rid of our default noargs repository constructor, and then our other log statements from the other stuff we were doing with. What if we want to do constructor injection though? We were using that before. Just like here's a snippet of just the beans namespace definition that I just copied to the top of our XML file. I believe that the misunderstanding of namespaces is one of the reasons that people are afraid of XML and using XML. XML configuration. Spring has created this namespace that simply acts like a dictionary for the properties that we can use to create a bean inside of our application. Let's talk a little bit more about these properties. So to get our project ready to copy to start the configuration of our application, we're going to use an @configuration annotation. The Java files that have the configuration annotation replace